The first glass shattered before I even turned around. It was near the bar. I remember the sound so clearly because everything else had gone quiet. Just moments before, the rooftop had been buzzing with laughter, clinking glasses, music pulsing low in the background. But when I heard that glass break, it was like someone had pulled the plug on the whole night. I didn't move right away. I just stood there, frozen, holding a plate of untouched mini crab cakes and pretending I didn't feel my entire spine tense up. And then I heard it, her voice. Clear, sharp, dripping with fake charm. "Oh, come on, he's not my husband. We're just playing pretend. Right, Dennis?" I turned. She was laughing. Laughing. One hand on Ryan's chest. His chest. The guy from her office I'd met maybe once, who now looked way too comfortable standing that close to my wife at my own celebration. Her hand was still resting on him like he was a damn coat rack. And everyone was looking at me, waiting for my response. Like I was part of the joke. Like I was in on it. I wasn't. I wasn't even close. I forced a smile. A horrible, twitchy thing that probably made me look like I had indigestion. I nodded slowly, took a bite of a crab cake, and nearly choked on it. That was my night. That was what I got for 10 years of loyalty, patience, sacrificing vacations to pay for her grad school, working weekends to keep the lights on when she needed a creative break, defending her when my own sister called her emotionally distant. That joke. And the worst part? It wasn't even the first time she'd said something like that. Just the first time she did it publicly. Loudly. Intentionally. I waited until the guests started drifting off, buzzed and oblivious. I said goodbye like nothing happened. I even hugged my old boss, who gave me a weird look, like he sensed something. When I walked into the bedroom later, she was already scrolling her phone in bed, like nothing had happened. She didn't say great party, or sorry for the comment, or even good night. Just a flat, glassy stare at whatever reel she was watching. And that was the moment I knew. I wasn't married anymore. At least, not to someone who respected me. So I did what I never thought I'd do. I opened a new browser tab, typed in a name I hoped I'd never need again. Nathan Berger, private investigator, and hit send on an email I'd been rewriting in my head for 2 years. I didn't care if it was paranoid. I didn't care if I was overreacting. Because something inside me had already broken. And what I was about to find out would make that joke look like the kindest part of the story. Nathan replied within 5 hours. Said he remembered me. We'd gone to the same college years ago, though we'd never spoken back then. He now ran a small but sharp private firm just outside the city, mostly handling cheating spouses, fraud, missing persons. He didn't waste words in the email. Just asked one question. "What do you suspect?" I sat there, rereading that line over and over. What did I suspect? I didn't have a picture of her kissing someone. No late-night texts I could point to. No perfume that wasn't hers. Nothing concrete. Just a feeling. A slow, constant drip of disrespect. Jokes with sharp edges. Nights she stayed late, brainstorming. The way she always changed the subject when I asked how things were at work. And, yeah, that look on her face when she was next to Ryan. It was real. That kind of light doesn't just flicker on for nothing. And it definitely hadn't flickered like that for me in a long time. I wrote back everything. Not just about the party, but the last 6 months. The weird shift. The growing silence. How every conversation felt like walking across a frozen lake, never knowing which step would crack the ice. He told me to send over the details. Phone number. Work schedule. Photos. I hesitated. But I sent them anyway. What was I protecting at this point? Her privacy? Her dignity? She joked we weren't even a couple anymore. Said it out loud. In front of 30 people. She'd made me the joke. So yeah, I sent everything. And while Nathan got to work, I started playing detective myself. The next evening, she got home late. Said she was tired. Said she had a migraine. Said she didn't want dinner, didn't want to talk, just wanted to shower. I nodded, kissed her on the forehead, and watched as she walked into the bathroom with her phone still in her hand. She never used to bring it in there. That's new. While she was in the shower, her iPad buzzed in the kitchen. She hadn't synced it with her phone in months. Or at least, I thought she hadn't. But now, suddenly, it was lighting up. And not just with emails. A name appeared. Trent, ad team. Message preview. Had a great time last night. Wish I could have stayed longer. My stomach turned. I picked it up, hands shaking, and opened the thread. I shouldn't have. I know that. But I did. Next time, no leaving early smirking face. You're dangerous, you know that? Only with you. I couldn't breathe. I literally couldn't breathe. My face went numb. My throat locked up. My heart wasn't even racing. It just stopped. Flatlined. And then came the worst part. A voice from the bathroom. Babe, can you bring me my phone? I didn't answer. I just stared at the iPad. The messages still open, my fingerprint smeared across the glass. I was holding evidence. Real, irrefutable, gut-punching evidence. She came out with a towel wrapped around her. Looked at me. Looked at the iPad. And paused. Just long enough. Then smiled. Not a nervous smile. Not an apologetic smile. A flat, smug, calculated smile. The kind you give when the game is already over and you know the other person is just now realizing they lost. And that's when I knew. This wasn't just a fling. This was war. I didn't say a word that night. Not when she walked past me and took the iPad like nothing happened. Not when she casually slipped into bed 10 minutes later and pulled the blanket up like she hadn't just been exposed. Not when she turned off the lamp, rolled over, and muttered, "Good night." I sat on the edge of the guest bed until 3 a.m., staring at the carpet. My brain kept trying to rewrite what I saw, to rationalize it, explain it away, cling to something softer. But that smile she gave me, it told the truth. She wasn't scared. She wasn't sorry. She was confident. And that scared the hell out of me more than anything else. I didn't sleep. I watched the sun come up and then drove to a random diner across town, just so I wouldn't have to sit in the same house as her. I stared at my reflection in the window across from me. I looked like a ghost, pale, unshaven, cracked open. And in my mind, one question kept hammering itself in. How long had this been going on? When I got home later that morning, she was already gone. No note. No text. Just her half-empty coffee mug in the sink and a lipstick-stained napkin on the counter. The same napkin I'd used the night before to write a grocery list. I don't know why that detail stuck with me, but it did. It felt deliberate. I checked my email and found one from Nathan. Subject line: "She's not just lying. She's careful." Inside was a single paragraph. He'd followed her the day before. Said she never went to her ad agency after 11 a.m. Instead, she met someone in a gray BMW parked outside a florist shop 15 miles out of town. They drove together to a gated neighborhood. Upscale, too clean, too perfect, and stayed inside a townhouse for nearly 4 hours. The man? Not Ryan. Not even Trent. Someone else. Nathan said he couldn't get a clear photo of the guy's face yet, but based on behavior and entry patterns, this wasn't their first visit. I read that line over and over again. This wasn't their first visit. I wanted to throw something. I wanted to punch a wall. But instead, I did something worse. I looked at our wedding album. I don't know why. Maybe to remind myself that it was real once. That I wasn't crazy. That I hadn't imagined the love. I flipped through it like an idiot. Page after page of smiles, hand-holding, toasts, our first dance. Her in that ivory dress with the lace sleeves she cried over in the boutique. Me, grinning like I'd just won the lottery. I touched the photo like it might wake me up. But it didn't. Because she was already gone. She just hadn't packed yet. So that night, I made a decision. I wouldn't confront her. Not yet. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of a screaming match, or a teary breakdown, or a wounded monologue. No. I would collect everything. Every message. Every name. Every location. And when I had all the proof, I wouldn't ask her anything. I'd just show her everything. In public. Because if she wanted to humiliate me with a joke at a party, she had no idea what I was willing to do now that I wasn't laughing anymore. I don't remember deciding to snoop. There wasn't a dramatic moment where I whispered to myself, "Now's the time." It just happened. Like muscle memory. Like something inside me finally gave up waiting for answers and decided to drag them into the light, one at a time. It started with her gym bag. She left it in the trunk of her car, which was strange in itself. Karina always carried it inside, like she didn't want anyone touching her stuff. But that night, she'd come home late, didn't say a word, didn't even take off her shoes before going straight to the shower. I watched the water run under the door and told myself, don't do it. Just go to bed. And then I grabbed her spare keys and stepped outside. The bag was buried under a jacket she hadn't worn in months. When I unzipped it, I didn't even know what I was looking for. A receipt? A note? A wrapper from a romantic dinner she said never happened? What I found was a second phone. It was thin, older than the one she usually used, no case, no pop socket, just black and cold. At first, I thought it was dead, but when I held the power button, it lit up immediately. No lock screen, no password, I didn't know whether to feel relieved or sick. There were only 2 contacts saved on it. One was saved as M, the other as Office, Alt. I clicked on M first. The messages were explicit, but worse than that, they were familiar. Not in the sense that I'd seen them before, but the way she spoke. It was casual, flirty, intimate. Like this wasn't a fling. Like this was someone she talked to more naturally than she ever talked to me anymore. Did you book the cabin? I told him I'd be at a work retreat. He didn't even blink. So pathetic. 2 more weeks, and I'll have the savings moved. That last one broke me, because I knew what she meant. We'd been slowly saving for a new investment. Her words, something she said could be a down payment for a rental property. I'd been putting in extra hours on side projects. I hadn't even touched my bonus. She kept track of the budget on her laptop, told me to trust her with the numbers. And now here it was. She wasn't investing in property. She was investing in escape. I switched over to the other contact, Office, Alt, and that's when things spiraled. These messages were older. A month back, maybe more. But they told me everything I didn't want to know. Trent, the guy from the iPad, he wasn't the main affair. He was the first. A placeholder. A soft betrayal to test the waters. But this guy, M, this was the real thing. They talked about furniture. About how he didn't like modern decor, and she was trying to ease him into her style. They joked about how I never noticed anything. He's so busy being proud of himself, he doesn't see what's right in front of him. She even sent him a picture of me once. At the grill. Smiling. Oblivious. Captioned, America's most loyal golden retriever. I had to sit down. I turned the phone off, zipped it back in the bag, and returned everything exactly how I found it. I went inside, brushed my teeth next to her like I wasn't holding the image of that text burned into my brain, and I crawled into bed knowing I had officially become the background character in my own life. But I also knew something else. This wasn't just cheating. This was orchestration. She wasn't trying to escape me. She was trying to erase me. And now, I had proof. All I needed was the right way to use it. I didn't go straight to Nathan with the second phone. I don't know why. Maybe because, in some twisted corner of my mind, I still wanted to be wrong. Maybe I wanted him to tell me I was paranoid, that it was just a burner phone for work emergencies or some stupid project I wasn't aware of. But deep down, I already knew what I was holding. The evidence didn't need interpreting. It just needed a plan. So instead, I waited. I watched. The next few days, I pretended to be a little more upbeat, a little more talkative. I even made her coffee the way she used to like it. Oat milk, cinnamon, splash of vanilla. She raised an eyebrow when I handed it to her, almost like she didn't recognize me. That was the moment I realized I didn't recognize her either. This wasn't my wife. This was someone else wearing her skin, practicing her voice, using her toothbrush. Then, 2 days later, she came home glowing. Not just smiling, glowing. Hair curled, nails done, little shopping bags swinging from her arm. She dropped a soft kiss on my cheek and said, "We've been invited to dinner with my new team lead. He's throwing a mixer at his place this Friday. Kinda mandatory." Her tone was casual, but there was something in her eyes. Not panic, calculation. Like she wanted to see how I'd react. I told her I'd love to go. She blinked. "Really?" "Sure," I said. "Would be nice to see where you've been spending all your time." She hesitated. A flicker of something, annoyance? Concern? I couldn't tell. Passed through her face, but she forced a smile and nodded. "Cool. I'll let them know." That night, I texted Nathan everything. The phone, the contact names, the messages, the pictures, even the dinner. I told him I didn't need more proof. I needed strategy. I wanted to hit the ground at the perfect angle, not just catch her, but corner her. No excuses. No gaslighting. No room to flip the script. I wanted her frozen mid-sentence, exposed in a room full of people she couldn't manipulate. Nathan texted back, "Then let's make sure you don't go in blind." The next day, he sent me a background file. M wasn't just some guy. His full name was Mark Teller, married, father of one, and, surprise, surprise, not employed at her agency at all. He was a former client. Someone she'd met 6 months ago during a pitch campaign. The same campaign, she told me, went nowhere. Apparently, it went far enough. He worked in property development, had a sleek office on the east side. The townhouse Nathan had followed her to? It was leased under a dummy LLC Mark set up. And the woman he was married to? She had no idea. Yet, that's when it hit me. This wasn't just betrayal. This was a network of lies. Karina wasn't falling in love. She was replacing her entire life. Me, our marriage, the house, the finances, all of it. She was building a future with this man on a foundation of my trust and my income. But now I had faces, names, dates, GPS logs, and the dinner on Friday? That was going to be her performance. Only I wouldn't be the audience. I'd be the director. I wasn't just going to watch her fall apart. I was going to time it. I ironed my shirt 3 times that night. Not because it needed it, but because I needed something to do with my hands. Every wrinkle I pressed flat. I imagined pressing out the panic still creeping around in my chest. Karina was humming in the bathroom, curling her hair like we were just another couple heading to a casual dinner party, not like she was walking into a carefully arranged trap. When she stepped out, she looked stunning, and she knew it. That same navy dress she wore the night of my party, the one that used to make me proud to be standing next to her, now made my skin crawl. I stared at her as she adjusted her earring and gave me that polished little smile, the kind that looked beautiful to everyone else, but now felt like a lie stitched together with lipstick and contempt. "You ready?" she asked, all casual. "More than you know," I said, grabbing my jacket. The drive there was almost surreal. She kept talking about people I'd finally get to meet, throwing out names she'd never once mentioned at home. "You'll like Mark," she said at one point, and I almost laughed. Mark? Oh, I knew Mark. I knew where he parked. I knew where he kissed her. I knew the name of his golden retriever and the school his kid went to. Nathan hadn't just done his homework. He practically handed me the exam key. When we pulled up, I recognized the townhouse immediately. It was the same one from Nathan's photos. But Karina played her part well. She acted like she'd never seen the place before. She rang the bell with a sweet, "They're still getting settled, don't judge." And when Mark opened the door, she gave him a polite nod like she wasn't sleeping with him behind my back. He was handsome, I'll give him that. Confident. Expensive watch. He greeted me like I was a stranger from LinkedIn and shook my hand like he wasn't planning to take over my life. I didn't break eye contact. The room was full of people, but not too full. Maybe 15, 20 guests. I recognized a couple faces from her agency's holiday cards. The rest, I assumed, were from Mark's side of the tracks. Everyone was laughing, sipping wine, balancing tiny plates of catered appetizers. No one had a clue. Not yet. And then it started. The games. Mark was the kind of host who loved being the center of attention. So, of course, he suggested some light icebreakers. 2 truths and a lie. Never have I ever. You know, the usual cringe-inducing nonsense people pretend to enjoy when they're networking or trying to impress their date. And wouldn't you know it? Karina volunteered us first. "I'll go for both of us," she said, resting her hand on my knee. I flinched barely. She smiled sweetly and leaned forward. "Okay, here we go. 1. Dennis and I met on a blind date. 2. Dennis once cried during a Pixar movie. And 3. We still do date nights every Friday." Laughter. A few dramatic ohs. She beamed at the attention. I swallowed hard and spoke up. "The lie is number 3. We don't do date nights anymore. She's usually with Mark on Fridays." Silence. Real silence. Like the room had stopped breathing. She didn't even turn to look at me. Her smile froze, then cracked, just slightly. Mark's drink hovered in midair. A woman near the kitchen awkwardly cleared her throat. I pulled out my phone and set it on the table. Unlocked. Open to the album Nathan had compiled for me. The one labeled Thursday to Thursday. Photos. GPS logs. Text screenshots. A PDF with banking transfers. Even the message where she called me the final donation before freedom. I looked at Mark. "You still planning to buy that lake property next month? You might want to use your real name on the documents. You've got a wife and kid, don't you?" His jaw moved, but nothing came out. Karina finally spoke. "Dennis, what the hell are you?" "No," I said. Calm. Cold. "You don't get to redirect the narrative this time. You don't get to joke your way out of this." I stood up. "You humiliated me in public. You built a second life off my money. You made me the punchline. Now you get to watch the punchline walk out with the final word." I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I didn't even raise my voice. I just walked out. Let the door stay open behind me. Let the silence say everything I didn't have to. By the time I reached the parking lot, my hands were shaking, not from fear, but from release. It was like I had finally let go of a weight that had been pressing down on my chest for months, maybe years. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was clinging to a version of Karina that didn't exist anymore. I wasn't waiting for her to come back. I wasn't hoping she'd change. I was done. I sat in the car and watched through the windshield as silhouettes scrambled inside the townhouse. I imagined Mark stammering through half-truths, Karina scrambling to take control of the narrative, guests awkwardly making excuses to leave. Nathan was parked 2 cars behind me. He gave me a subtle nod when I looked in the mirror. We didn't need to speak. That weekend, everything unraveled, fast. Sunday morning, she came home. I knew she would. She always ran when things got messy. Her face was pale, her lips trembling like she'd practiced an apology all night, but didn't know where to start. I didn't give her the chance. I'd already emptied the joint account, already called my lawyer, already set the meeting with Mark's wife. She tried to talk, but I just handed her a single envelope. Inside were printouts, not of the cheating, not of the lies, not even the texts. Just 1 page, a statement of what I knew, signed and dated. She stared at it for a long time, then looked up at me like she didn't recognize who I was. I wasn't the man she had belittled. I wasn't the doormat she'd walked over for years. "This is how you want to end it?" she asked, voice shaking. "No," I said quietly. "This is how you ended it. I'm just writing the final line." She reached for my hand, but I stepped back. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I didn't break. I had nothing left to give her, not anger, not comfort, not even eye contact. She left that afternoon, and I didn't follow her. The silence after she left was louder than anything I'd ever heard. For days, I wandered through the house like a stranger in my own life, opening drawers that still smelled like her perfume, folding clothes she hadn't bothered to take, deleting calendar reminders that used to mean something. It hurt. I won't lie. I didn't wake up the next morning magically healed. No cinematic music swelled in the background. I was wrecked, but I was free. Nathan followed through. Mark's wife received everything. I never asked what happened between them, but I imagine it wasn't pretty. I didn't need revenge anymore, not really. What mattered was truth. Letting the people who deserved to know see. Not just me. Her. A few months passed. Quiet ones. Hard ones. But also healing ones. I started doing something weird. Waking up early just to walk around the block before work. No music, no podcast, just breathing. Just existing without the weight of constantly being undermined. I saw neighbors I'd never spoken to before. I read books. I deleted her photos one by one, and with every click, it felt less like mourning and more like making space. And then, unexpectedly, someone stepped into that space. Her name's April. No drama. No mystery. She works at the small bookstore downtown where I picked up a paperback on minimalism. I know, the irony. And we talked for 20 minutes about nothing that hurt. Just books. Dogs. Rain. She didn't know my story, and I didn't know hers. But when I left, I realized I'd smiled without forcing it. That was the first win. Now, we're still taking it slow. She doesn't know the whole story yet. She doesn't need to. Because she's meeting this version of me. The one who's not begging to be enough for someone who never deserved him. The one who doesn't shrink when he speaks. The one who walks into a room and knows he belongs there. As for Karina, I heard through mutuals she tried to land a job out of state, but the agency didn't want the baggage. She's still with Mark, or maybe not. Honestly, I don't care. She's just a name in an old email folder now. What I've learned is this. When someone turns you into a punchline, you don't fight to stay in their joke. You write your own story. And this time, I'm the one laughing. Not because I'm bitter, but because I finally get to be me again.